What if I told you that we could build data from Star Trek? That the technology exists, we could do it today. But we can't, because his eyeballs are locked behind US copyright law. Okay, trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. I know it sounds crazy, but what I just said about data is the reason that AI is never going away. Hang on a second, put that pitchfork down. Just hear me out. I'm gonna make this argument completely independent of any personal desire or feelings about whether this is good or bad, but this is something that I believe to be true and inevitable. So if you're currently waiting for a future where a bubble bursts and AI dies a quiet death, sit down, keep your pitchfork at the ready, you can keep it by your side, that's okay. And we'll see if by the end of this video, I've convinced you. Many of the arguments against AI, especially generative AI, are simply dead on arrival. They're either opinions or they're technical hurdles. For instance, it's not real art. Now, what is and isn't art is quintessentially an opinion. It might be really meaningful to a lot of people, but I don't think this is going to drive any sort of legislation. Another is that it's bad for the environment, and while that may be true, it didn't stop us from blanketing the earth with cars. Again, I'm not trying to convince you this is good, just that it's gonna happen. It will take away so many jobs. This is something that happens during technological booms in general. The word Luddite is used today as a derogatory term to refer to people who are opposed to new technology, but Luddites were a real group of people fighting against automation in textile factories, and they did lose their jobs. When it comes to occupations like this, automation always wins. Some say it's anti-human because it replaces us at the things that we actually want to do. Like the opinion about art, this is something that people feel very strongly about. And as a computer programmer myself, this is something I feel as well. But again, I don't think that this is going to drive legislation. But then there's the big one, the argument with real merit. The one that we're all going to watch play out in the coming years. That training is theft. The claim here is that training an AI to use copyrighted materials is theft, that it's illegal, and that it shouldn't be allowed. The basis of this claim is that when a generative AI is trained on, let's say, an image, that image is stored in some retrievable way, such that it's copied or produces derivative works. And there is a real claim to be made here. And there's also the opposite claim that because of the way a neural network operates, at a very high level, something like a fake brain where the connections between neurons are strengthened or weakened based on the training data, that this is more similar to learning, and that the storage of the image isn't really storage at all. And I'm not gonna go further into the arguments here one way or the other, but this is the fight we're gonna watch play out in the near future. So then, why do I think AI won't be going away? Simply because I think that decisions will eventually come to fall in the direction of the collective desires of humanity, as well as the greatest number of the most influential people. And no, I'm not talking about the AI bros. So then, who actually wants this? As long as there's been science fiction and computers, there have been stories of human-like machines, both good and bad. It's one of the ubiquitous dreams of humanity, right alongside space travel and conquering the stars. And this really is close to what I think most people assume the distant future will look like. Well, sort of. I think people fall into a few camps, and many think that we'll just destroy ourselves before we ever get to this point, and that too often involves robots. But if you ask enough people, if we survived and we kept going for hundreds and thousands of years, do you think our future would look something like this? And I think most people would agree that, yeah, if we survive long enough, we'll probably leave Earth and have robots. And this is an idea that people are attracted to. Think of C-3PO or Data. Some of entertainment's most beloved characters are robots, and humans are so strongly empathetic that you can have a character like Data or the Terminator where you are explicitly told they don't have human emotions, and people will still get attracted and project emotions onto them. Look at him, he's trying so hard to be human! Oh god, why? Why would they do this? And this is why you have things like people falling in love with ChatGPT. Again, just a reminder, not saying that's good. But there is a desire and an assumption that at some point we're going to advance into the realm of sci-fi with some of our technology, as we have with other technologies in the past. And sure, for something like traveling between the stars, you can argue that there's limits, like we can't go faster than light. But what about robots? Like I said, if training an AI is theft, then we couldn't have data because of US copyright law. That's what the copyright claim implies. If a computer looking at an image and having some representation of that image stored in its brain is a violation of copyright, then we can't have a robot that can look around at things and learn arbitrarily. That's what that implies. And while it sounds like an outlandish argument, I really think this is something people just won't stand for in the long run. And I hear you. That's different, you say, but it isn't. I assure you that it's not. What might some of the proposed differences be? Well, Data's brain is different. We can't retrieve his stored thoughts, like retrieving a copyrighted image. He's learning like a person, but is he? We don't know. Data is said to have a positronic brain, and the show kind of gets around this whole thing by hand-waving that his creator is gone and nobody really knows how he works. But even our current neural networks are things that we can't really see inside of. Or we can, but it's difficult to glean any meaning. But since we're the ones who built them, we can construct mechanisms by which we can follow some of the processes and see how they're working. And because we're building them, and they're artificial, there's always going to be some means to do this, at least until there's some runaway singularity event. Well, Data uses his eyes. He goes through the motions of learning. Let's break this down. Data has eyes, which, for a computer, basically means he has a camera. That image has to be broken down into its component pixels, and even our eyes do this with rods and cones in our retinas. And then we're left with an image fed to the brain, in this case the artificial brain, just as if we had fed the image in the first place. We might say, well, Data moves his arm to learn to draw. He has to learn the action, but that's just a different output, and I doubt those arguing for copyright protections against AI would be satisfied if instead of outputting to the screen, it just had to paint with a robot arm that was separately trained. And this may work to slow the speed of production in the short term, but if anyone can have a robot, suddenly anyone can reproduce a work. If the robot paints the image and they scan it back into the computer, is that not just the same process with extra steps? And is a printer just a different type of robot arm? I'm gonna make a claim here, and it's the basis of my whole argument. And if you want to flat out reject it, that's fine. That just means I haven't convinced you. If we can build androids, if the technology exists and we can do it, then we absolutely will do it. And the existence of androids is dependent on the outcome of this debate about copyright law. And even if you think that in general this is something people aren't going to want, some of the most powerful and influential forces in the world have a vested interest in seeing that rulings fall in their favor, not the least of which is the US military. Someone is going to continue advancing this technology. For one thing, copyright laws are country specific. If we rule against it in the US, it's just going to be carried forward by some other part of the world. And that's a strategic advantage that no country is going to want to give up in favor of copyrights. So perhaps only the government or special interests are allowed to use the technology? Perhaps that's possible. But it's going to happen, excluding the possibility of a joint declaration that AI is a threat on the level of nuclear weapons and everyone agrees to put an end to it. Except not even then, because even with nuclear weapons, we still have nuclear weapons. We have nuclear deterrence, and countries attempting to build their own nuclear programs. And unlike with those, much of AI's current capabilities are already open source. And we might get regulations, we probably will. And if and when we do, it will likely come in the same form as we see with things like vehicle emissions, where the largest companies will lobby for regulations which benefit them and be able to act with relative impunity. And the regulations will serve to pull up the ladder for newcomers hoping to enter the market. We've already seen people like Sam Altman declare that AI needs to be regulated. Now, why would he say that? As the head of one of the world's leading AI companies, why would he say that? Why? And this part's a bit of a tangent, but discussion around the threat of AI seems to be firmly stuck in the realm of job loss, misinformation on the internet, and the displacement of creative endeavors. Now, not that these aren't important problems, but it goes beyond that. The people who ostensibly care the most about the threat of AI are tearing each other apart over images on Twitter, while a voice like Robert Miles, who's been dedicated to teaching about AI safety since well before ChatGPT was even a thing, remain relatively small. Have you heard of a paperclip maximizer? Do you know what the stop button problem is, or why it's so difficult to solve? AI poses a real, legitimate, existential threat, at least potentially, and some of the risks aren't being discussed, in part because, either consciously or unconsciously, people are in denial about the obvious fact that these systems are becoming smarter and more capable every day, and it's becoming a reputational hazard to publicly declare as much. Tangent over. But seriously, if you haven't checked out Robert Miles, go check out his channel. So that's my argument. Crazy as it may sound, AI is inevitable because humanity won't lock Star Trek behind copyright law. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I know this is a departure from my usual content again, and if you've been around this channel for a while, you might be thinking that I should probably just pick a topic and stick to it. If that's the case, don't worry, we should be back to usual in the next video. I just went and saw the back rooms, and I've got quite a bit to talk about there. So I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.